Murder resentencing now in Alaska's news source. We're inside the courtroom as the youngest Alaskan woman ever convicted has a first hearing. What's next for transgender youth care? The medical board moves toward wanting to one day discipline some providers. And where an Anchorage narcotics investigation stands hours after the police and FBI executed a search warrant.
And 70-degree days aren't over in Alaska just yet. I'll show you the places where summer is making a comeback even as we wrap up the month.
You're watching Alaska's news source.
Well, the youngest Alaska woman to be convicted of murder and had her first resentencing hearing today after a recent Court of Appeals ruling. Investigative team's Johnson Kuhn was in court today. Johnson, tell us what you've learned.
That's right, Rebecca. In 1985, Winona Fletcher was 14 years old when she was arrested for her role in a triple homicide in an East Anchorage neighborhood. She was sentenced to 135 years. But because of a court ruling that calls for reevaluating the way juveniles are sentenced, at 54 years old, she's now hoping for a different outcome.
This is probably the only time I would sit up here and do this.
Kurt Schmidt explaining how taking the stand was an exception he would likely only make for Fletcher. He was one of half a dozen witnesses the defense called to the stand on Friday, each speaking to her exemplary reputation in prison. In April 1985, Fletcher, along with then 19-year-old Cordell Boyd, broke into the home of Tom and Ann Facio, killing them along with Ann's sister, Amelia Elliott. Each witness shared different stories from having spent substantial time with Fletcher during her incarceration, describing her as respectful and supportive of others. The state prosecution, however, argued that the witnesses could only speak to who they felt she was after the murders, but no one could speak to who she was at the time of the crimes were committed. Fletcher's attorney is saying no matter what the outcome is, she's grateful for the chance to tell her client's story.
It's rewarding and meaningful just to be able to finally get the truth about her out there and finally, hopefully, dispel and destroy that offensive caricature that, was just in the courts, in the media, everywhere back then, which is, just very destructive thing to do to a 14-year-old, no matter what she's done.
And a second resentencing hearing is scheduled for September 5th. Some of the family of the victims were present in court today, but say they're holding off on public comments until the resentencing is finished. Johnson Kuhn, Alaska's news source.
Well, transgender care for minors and late-term abortions. Our political reporter, Will Courtney, updates us on where things stand since the state medical board made two moves against both this morning. Will.
Yeah, Rebecca, the actions today were unanimous moves by the medical board. One, a statement calling elective late-term abortions unethical, and the other, a draft proposal which could, one day, allow board members to discipline medical providers who treat trans youth. This does not go into effect today. It's a first step. This will go to the state attorney general's office, then have a public comment period. Legislative leadership telling me today the process could take a year, and it remains unclear in this proposal what punishment medical personnel could face. Supporters argue this is needed to protect children from altering their bodies at a young age, but opponents argue there's no medical proof to show that's true or changes are needed. Today, members of the public only spoke against the proposal.
It is my calling to care for people, to nurture spirits, and to support emotional and spiritual health. I especially care that young people get what they need to grow into happy and capable adults. I can't imagine deliberately withholding emotional or spiritual care that would contribute to a young person's thriving or save a young person's life.
Protecting youth means acting with compassion, but also with caution. And I think that our first duty is to do no harm. And irreversible choices should wait until they can be made with an adult understanding.
As for the board's late-term abortion statement, they say, quote, Alaska state law allows for elective late-term abortions up until the time of delivery. The Alaska State Medical Board believes this is not ethical medical practice and does not embody the values of Alaskans. The board's statement does not define what time frame late-term refers to, and in recent years, that debate has often focused on a time period around 20 weeks. We've reached out to all current medical board members. No one has commented today, except saying the board wanted our questions ahead of time and said it could be days before they respond. On our website and our mobile app, expanded coverage of what could be the next changes. Will Courtney, Alaska's news source.
The FBI conducted what it's calling a major drug investigation into a Spenard hotel this morning. Multiple agencies descended on the Chelsea Inn, where officers served a federal warrant and spent most of the day collecting evidence from that hotel while residents watched from a nearby parking lot. Now, one woman who owns a hair salon across the street, she says she has seen plenty of drug activity in that area and that some of her neighbors don't feel safe.
I know 70 and 80-year-old women that live back in the neighborhood that were in danger. It was pretty serious. And they were right in their yards. So I'm glad to see that everything's going to be a little bit better for them.
Authorities haven't said what they were looking for or what they might have found. The U.S. Attorney's Office is expected to release more information next week. And Chief Meteorologist Melissa Fry joins us now. Melissa, the weekend is just about here, just a few seconds in, and it's fair season, of course. Yeah. How's the weekend looking for anyone headed out?
You know, if you're in South Central, decent conditions this weekend. We are going to see steadily increasing clouds here through the weekend, but dry for most of it. And look at that sunshine, gorgeous conditions tonight. It is still 70 degrees in Ketchikan with that sun high in the sky, 67, a great evening in Palmer tonight, and 65 in Anchorage. Fairbanks, dry conditions at the moment, still holding on to those low 60s, but rain is on the way for you this weekend. We can already see that cloud cover extending in from the north, and we will steadily see increasing clouds here across South Central as we head through the day. Saturday, even more so on Sunday. But the action from that storm, it's all to the north of the Alaska Range. That's where you're going to find rain and wind, including wind advisories in effect for much of the interior. And we do still have high surf advisories in effect for the western side of the state, where we are looking at those wet and windy conditions. So looking at these rainfall totals overnight tonight, very wet conditions from Bethel to Nome. You'll see that rain extending into Fairbanks tomorrow, but steering clear of most of South Central Saturday and Sunday. It's not until Sunday evening that we see that rain arriving in South Central. So enjoy your Saturday. Increasing clouds in Anchorage, showers in Fairbanks, mostly sunny and warm in Juneau. And we'll see that morning rain in Bethel. Temperatures there in the low 60s. And then looking ahead to Sunday, and that's when the clouds will extend across the rest of South Central. We will likely see showers late in the day, Sunday in Anchorage. Sooner, though, to the north. If you're heading out to the fair Sunday afternoon, you might run into an isolated shower there in Palmer. And I'll have a closer look at that full statewide forecast here in a few minutes.
Thank you, Melissa. And the fun at the Alaska State Fair ramps up heading into the weekend. Joe Allgood is out there again today. Joe, how's it going? Does it ever get old for you?
Well, it's a beautiful day here at the fair. We're out front, the Lumberjack Show, and there's some pretty incredible feats of lumberjacking going on. We're going to head in there in a minute. It's also Kids Day, which means that kids under 12 get in for free, so definitely want to come down and check that out. And tomorrow is Club 49 Day. There's going to be a chance to win some free Alaska Airlines tickets, as well as Sunday. There's a scavenger hunt with the chance to win a $250 Visa gift card. So definitely want to check that out. There's some cold hard cash on the line. Also, all weekend long, the fair is holding a food drive. So if you can, please bring some shelf-stable food. You can donate that at the gates. It'll go a long way in helping some folks out. Joe Allgood, I'm live here at the Alaska State Fair, throwing it back to you guys in the studio.
Lumberjacking is now a verb. I like that. Still ahead, a new look at the Northern Edge military training taking place across Alaska. We'll show you who's involved and explain the significance. Well, the band Mastodon is still expected to perform at the Alaska State Fair tonight. This comes after the passing of one of the band's co-founders, Brent Hines, at the age of 51. Atlanta police say that he was hit by an SUV. Although Hines co-founded the band, he was not going to perform that night. He parted ways with the group this past March. Mastodon performs at 7. We'll have a crew there and have more on the late edition. Jay Bear is showing off new photos of the joint field training exercise known as Northern Edge. So here's the photos from their Facebook page. More than 6,400 service members, 100 aircraft, and 7 U.S. and Canadian vessels are taking part. And the trainings serve as realistic wartime training and readiness in case of emergencies.
Thanks for listening. Click subscribe so you can get the latest podcast from Alaska's news source automatically. And stay up to date with breaking news and in-depth reporting available for free 24/7 with the Alaska's News Source app.